Welcome to Muscle Maintenance within Shape Fitness. I'm Coach Kim, and today is Friday, March 27th, and today we are finishing up our first week of functional 5 workouts using the same 5 exercises that we have been using all week, but today ramping them up a little bit after we warm up a little bit to a mash of all 5 exercises in a circuit that will get your heart rate up, keep your heart rate up, and produce a feeling of productivity and hopefully a decent outlook on this crazy world that we're living in right now. So the 5 exercises that we've been doing this week are really simple, right? I explained the functional 5 at the beginning of this week. We have so little time, even spending all this time that we have at home. It's not so easy to carve out an individualized sort of workout time for you in your schedule. So forgetting the fact that we don't have access to exercise facilities right now, and therefore a lot of exercise equipment, you might have some, balls and mats and bands and stuff in your house, but for the most part, you're on your own, right? So the concept here is to take 5 exercises, learn how to do them really well, master them, practice them and master them, and then listen to my voice, right? I don't do this on video, and people have been asking me this all week. Will you please just do one of these videos? And the thing about the video is if you listen and you're synthesizing the words that I say and exercising, focusing on your body, executing the moves yourself, then seeing me execute will not necessarily help you that much. What you want to be able to do is focus on your own movement. The problem with videos is that watching someone, trying to copy what someone's doing on your TV screen or your computer screen, and listen and do is really difficult to sort of combine those 3 things and then focus on the doing part. And the thing that typically gets lost is the doing part. This is why we see people execute exercises so incorrectly so much. So the 5 exercises this week that we're doing, and we're going to do 5 each week, right? I'm going to pick 5. Sometimes they'll be the same. I'll tell you, a plank is probably going to be in a lot of them. But this week was a plank, hip bridge. We did jumping jacks, squats, and basic lunges. And so today we're going to go back to those same 5 exercises. And again, let's get started. If you're standing up, stay standing. If you're not standing, go ahead and stand up on your feet and just take a couple of deep breaths. Postural systems check is something that, as a homebound person, you want to do, not just right now, but on a regular basis throughout your day. If you're still trying to kind of figure out your schedule, like still trying to figure out how, all the different parts of your life is, kind of mashed together in a day in your home, which I am. I mean, I have to admit, what you will find is that you might be getting up more. So that's a good thing, actually. You might not be sitting for extended period of times quite as much as you would do at your office, but it might be that when you do sit down and you lounge, like it may be at the sofa, your posture is really, really bad, and you end up then there stuck for a while. So postural systems check. While we're standing here, we're thinking about the alignment of the spine. Your ears and your shoulders should line up. Your hips, you want to make sure your butt isn't sticking out, so your pelvis is straight up and down. Your hip flexors act as kind of like the headlights of your body. So you want to make sure that you're tucking in your tailbone a little bit, especially if you spend a lot of time seated, and then pull in your belly button. And then make sure that you're exerting pressure on both the right and the left side equally down your legs and obviously through your feet. So let's begin with a standard squat. All right, because a standard squat is something that you can do slowly, something that I want you to do slowly. And when you sit down and back into an imaginary chair, which can be an actual chair, if you are just warming up or you're not comfortable with regular squats, that's fine. You sit down into the chair and then just make sure that you're sitting down and back, because you don't want your knees to go past the tips of your toes. You also want to make sure your feet are straight. Your feet are hip width apart, and you're not going to turn out your toes. So when you sit down and back, you're inhaling, And then as you lift up, you exhale. And while you're lifting up, you're moving slowly, because remember, you're exerting pressure now against gravity. You're squeezing your glutes and pressing your heels into the floor. And the thing that does is makes sure that your quadriceps, your thigh muscles, don't do all of the work in conjunction with your back, right? If you squeeze your butt cheeks and activate the back of your leg, and then you stand up really tall and activate your hip flexors, then you're distributing the effort through multiple parts of your body, which is a good thing, especially for squats, for getting down and getting off of the floor, which is from a sort of a daily movement perspective, a real tricky execution for people, right? Getting like drop a pencil, picking it up, not so easy to do if you're not super strong and really aware of the mechanics that go into that movement. So you're sitting down and you're standing up. That's a basic squat. We've been in it now for about a minute. So let's change things up a little bit, because we're going to combine squats with lunges and jacks in just a couple of minutes. So let's do our jumping jacks for about 30 seconds to just warm up your body, completely at this point. So you jump your legs out, you lift your arms up over your head, you try to touch your fingertips up at the top, all right? Not with really bent elbows. You can have a slight bend in your elbows, but you really want to feel this stretch through your shoulders and through the lats, right underneath your armpits or around your armpit area. You want to activate that part of your body as well. So you're jumping out, jumping in, jumping out, jumping in. That's about 15 seconds. Keep it going. You want to land lightly on the balls of your feet. Now, jumping is an important part of every exercise regimen, because we activate neurotransmitters in the feet when we have this sort of sudden contact point made with your floor. And that's stimulating and affects a lot of other tissues in your body. As a result, it's also obviously very aerobic. Okay, now let's do this. You're going to go back to a squat. We're going to get to our lunges in just a second. We're going to go down into a squat, and we're going to come out of a squat, and then we're going to do one jumping jack. So your feet are already going to be a little about hip width apart, but you can maybe get them a little closer for this squat. And then as you come up, you open your feet up really super wide for a super wide jack, and do one jumping jack, put your hands back down, and then go right back into another squat. All right, so just that duo there: squat, jumping jack, squat, jumping jack. I don't pay close attention to the number of repetitions. You and I are working out together here for about 15 minutes. Maybe it'll go a little longer today because we're doing this mashup, but essentially the number of minutes, the sustained elevation of your heart rate, the activation of all of your soft tissues and your respiratory system, those are the most important goals. So don't focus on the number that you're executing. Except when we get to lunges, we just need to make sure that we do the same number on the right leg and the left leg. Okay. Take a couple of deep breaths. Go ahead and stop your combo jack squat and stand up really tall again. Just complete another postural systems check. Take a couple of deep breaths. Always inhale through the nose and exhale through your mouth. Now listen to this, okay? People don't really talk about this a lot. I know you probably hear people talk about inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth, but there is a particular reason why you want to do that. And the reason has to do with hormone levels and your heart rate. And the reason, so to get not too scientific, but a little scientific for you, as you're thinking about your really straight back and your posture, we're going to start executing a couple of basic forward lunges here. When you inhale through your mouth, if you're a mouth breather, you activate something called the sympathetic nervous system. It's part of the primitive part of your brain that activates fight or flight in your body. You don't do this on purpose, but what happens is that the sort of automatic, the components of your biological body are activated from that mouth breath, the way that oxygen is being consumed into the body, and that sends more hormones into your bloodstream and lifts your heart rate up unnecessarily. So when you inhale through your nose, you're maintaining your executive function, your more human brain, by making sure that you don't activate that primitive part of your brain when you inhale through your nose. So now we're going to take a big step forward, back to exercise science, out of biological science. You're going to step forward with the left leg and then bend both knees until your body is lowered towards the floor, making two 90-degree angles if you can, but don't hit the floor with your knee. And then you push up off of the floor with your left foot and return to your starting position. So that's a simple forward lunge. Do a couple of these, just 2 or 3 of these on your left leg. Then we're going to do a couple on your right leg, just to warm up the lunge mechanics. Okay, now switch to the right leg. Same thing. It might be harder because if you're right-handed, and 90% of the listeners are, right? 90% of humans are right-handed. The left leg is not so strong. So stabilizing the body with the left leg then becomes more difficult. When you take that step forward with the right leg, you bend both knees to 90 degrees again and step back. And again, just do a couple of those. All right. Now we're going to combine the jumping jack with the lunge. We're going to forget the squat for a second. We're going to get those involved in just a minute. We're going to do one forward lunge with the left leg. When you step back, you execute one jumping jack. And then you step forward with the right leg. All right, go ahead and get started. We're going to do that for 30 seconds. And again, don't worry about the number. We'll just make sure at the end that we finish on the right leg since we start with the left leg moving. All right, so go ahead and get started. Keep your back straight. Keep your belly button pulled in. The best way to keep your back straight is to focus on pulling your belly button in and up a little bit towards your spine. Keep breathing, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth. 30 seconds goes fast. All right, finish the combination that you're on. Again, making sure that you started with your left foot, then you did a jack, and then finish with your right foot, your right lunge, and then finish with your jack. Okay, great. Awesome. That is a really great job. We're 12 minutes in here, right? So now when we get down to the floor, we've got planks and hip bridges to continue with, and we're going to do those as well. But I want to make sure that we do about a minute of the full standing position mashup here. So that means that we're going to do a squat, and then we're going to do a left leg lunge, and then we're going to do a jack. And then we're going to do a squat, and then a right leg lunge, and then we're going to do a jumping jack. All right, so for 1 minute, let's go ahead and get started with those. So sit down and back into your imaginary chair. Remember your knees, then stand up real tall. Extend your hip flexors completely straight, then left leg lunge, then back, then jumping jack. After your jumping jack, you sit back into a squat. And then you stand up really tall, execute a right leg lunge. And then back, and then a jack again. All right. Go ahead and keep that going. You're already 30 seconds in. So your execution is your squat, your lunge, your jack. Your squat, your alternating lunge, your jack. Right? Just make sure you're coming up on 10 seconds to go here. We're going to just try to make sure that we finish whatever it takes for you to finish and make sure that you've got that right-legged lunge after the left-legged lunge. All right, so go ahead and finish the one that you're on and take a couple of deep breaths. So left-handed people, I'm a left-handed person. I've spent a ton of my exercise coaching life getting people to think about this issue of the right leg versus the left leg. If you're a sedentary person and this is the only thing that you're doing in terms of your whole movement existence, right? If you don't exercise on a regular basis, which is probably unlikely if you're doing this podcast, but if you don't exercise very much, you may not feel the difference between your right leg and your left leg. One thing that you can do if you're curious is to stabilize, go into a tree pose or just lift one leg and see how long you can stand on each of your legs individually. Depending on the variation, the difference between the amount of time you can balance on your legs individually, you will gain a better sense of the strength and the stability between the two, your two legs. So that's one way you can assess. Go ahead and lie on the floor, on your back, and let's get you into hip bridge. All right, hip bridge and plank is a little hard to mash up, but we are going to do a little bit of back and forth here. So we're lifting into the hip bridge, which means your knees are bent and your feet are flat on the floor. You want to keep your toes down. That's really, really important. And then you lift your hips up into the air. Your hands are beside your body. And just hold here for a couple seconds. 3, 2, 1. Now, like a step-by-step process, lower your hips, straighten your legs, turn to the right, put your elbows on the floor, lift your body up into a plank, and hold for 20 seconds, right? Just 20 seconds here. Your elbows and your shoulders make a straight line. That's 5 seconds. If you're not on your feet because it's too hard to hold a plank for 20 seconds, by the way, that's 10 seconds, then you can obviously be on your knees. But just make sure you should feel the isometric contractions, the teamwork, the unity that must be sequestered to hold your body above the floor. 3, 2, 1, turn back to the right, completing one full sort of revolution of your body, and then you're back on your back, and you're lifting up into a hip bridge again. This time, bend both knees, lift your hips up into the air, hands beside your body, lift up the left leg, hold here. Now replace the left leg with the right leg. Hold again. It's about 10 seconds. So this is another way. You might be able to tell between the left leg that's stabilizing your body now and before, when your right leg was stabilizing your body. Is it different? Do you feel the difficulty difference between the stability that you can wield with your left leg versus that which you can wield with your right leg? Okay, hips down, straighten your legs, turn to the left. Now let's prop your body back up into a plank. 20 seconds. Your time starts now. Again, shoulders and your elbows make a straight up and down line. Your butt is down. You're 10 seconds in. Little shallow breath, still inhaling through your nose, exhaling through your mouth is great. And last 3, 2, 1. Keep turning to your left. We're going to finish with your hip bridge and lift back up into the air. Both feet on the floor for now. And you're going to lift up the left leg one more time. You're going to try to execute a couple of dips with the right leg on the floor. Keep your right foot flat. Keep your right toes down. Lower your body and lift up for 15 seconds. Down and up, down and up. All right, the single leg, actually my 91-year-old client calls this the car jack. And he does this exercise. I do this exercise almost every day. This is so important to make sure. You really should feel this in the back of your leg. Now switch sides for the last couple of seconds. Then we're going to turn over and end with your plank. Last time, left leg now is stabilizing the body. The right leg is in the air. Lower down and lift up. And this for sure will make sure that you don't forget that your right leg is stronger than your left leg if you're right-handed. Left-handed people, I think I started to say, and then I never really finished my point, tend to not have the same exact distribution, this sort of difference between the two sides. It is typically a little bit different with us. We have a lot of transference issues between the right side and the left side. Okay, turn your body back over. It doesn't matter which direction. Last 20-second plank, so that we've got 1 minute for total on our plank, is going to start now. Last 20 seconds. All right, so your shoulders again and your elbows are lined up in a straight line. And listen, if you're doing a basic functional 5 and you want to get this done in 5 minutes, which is sometimes what I do in the morning if I'm in a rush, or I've hit the snooze button a couple times. So that's totally fine. 5 minutes is something, right? 5 minutes is still an activation of all of the tissues in your body. 5 minutes is still a little bit of a heart rate boost. Your time is up, by the way, your 20 seconds is up. So just rest in child's pose as we say goodbye. 5 minutes, functional 5, at its most basic form is 1 exercise per minute. And it really doesn't have to be these 5 exercises. As I said, next week, we're going to pick 5 new exercises and do a variation on those 5 exercises throughout the week. Typically, my sessions last longer than 5 minutes because I like to yammer on, as you know, and talk to you about the way that you execute the moves and then have you do the move. So it does take a little bit longer. But if you are going to pick 5 moves, pick 5 moves and take 5 minutes. It all works. And that's the point. So I'm going to do another podcast a little bit later today called the In Shape Fitness Show. That's a separate channel that I keep at In Shape Fitness. And today I am specifically talking about scheduling the time and trying to fit exercise in little chewable increments throughout the day when we are, quarantined in our homes, sheltering in our homes, and being really careful in terms of being outside and being in places where we normally like to go and exercise. We're even talking in New York City about closing down, parts of streets to cars so that people can run and keep safe distances from one another. But it's really hard right now. So please be safe and careful and smart as you are out and about. And come back and join us next week for another series of Functional 5. Have a great day.